the lockdown checklist. Now, what usually happens is I start coaching a partner, and for some reason, or just osmosis, it starts to then coaching with the other partner. Now, the other partner might have their own business or not, but what usually happens is that there's a communication breakdown, or something happens that involves our wonderful partners. I'm no angel. I've constantly working on my communication with that and dropped the ball many a times. But what I do notice is that when our home is in order, when we've got our communication is in, when our family is in, it makes work and business so much more flowing. So thinking about this as we move and as we progress down this rabbit hole that we don't know where it's going to end, I thought I always look to what does the next week or 2 weeks look like? And looking at the data and looking at how we've progressed, I think we're well ahead of many other nations. I think we're still only at 1% from tests to positive results, where you look at other countries like Italy, which is at 5 or 6%. So, however, so we actually decrease the divorce rate, and we don't find our children out on the street. I've come up with a little bit of a checklist that I'm sure you will take it as you wish. So the thing is, the guiding principle is this. The outcome of this checklist is to remain together on many different levels, right? Not just on a marriage, but on many different levels. Together in just that feeling of being together and not being isolated. And there are 3 key aspects when it comes to this component. It's all around connection, it's around communication, and it's around collaboration. All right? They're the 3 key areas when it comes to getting everything sorted as we move closer to this checklist, this lockdown. And in this, there are a number of different components that I want to walk you through. Okay? On the connection aspect is looking at your health. Now, your health is on so many different levels. Your health is things like your physical health, your mental health, and your emotional health. Okay? So your physical, your mental, and your emotional. All right? Now, when we look at your physical, obviously we know that in relation to your exercise. When your mental health is what are you actually feeding it? Are you reading? Are you learning something new whilst you're at home? And the emotional component is what are you doing to fill yourself up? How are you filling yourself up? Are you breathing? You got breathing exercises? Are you meditating to really start to quiet down the mind? Because as we know, when emotion is high, logic is actually low. So that is the fight or flight response. And we know when we have a fight or flight response, our chemical imbalances, our hormones get released, which is the cortisol, which is the stimulus and the adrenaline. And so our adrenals get fatigued. So therefore, what happens is that when we're in that high emotional state, we can't think logically and we act irrationally. So in order to balance that out, the quickest way to decrease that emotion and increase that logic is to actually breathing. Breathing allows you to balance that regulator out so we can start to control that emotional state and start to be logic and rational in the decisions that we need to make. Okay? So there's the health component. And there are many different things that we can do on a physical component. From body weight exercise, we can still get out and walk. You've probably seen some of my posts that I've been putting up doing CrossFit workouts at home. So there's many different components around there at the moment, okay? The other component when it comes to connection is rituals, okay? Now, what are you doing in relations to rituals is for yourself, for your partner. What are your partner's rituals, and what are the kids' rituals? And so this is a quite, because as we've mentioned time and time again, we are habitual people. And in order to, before this all happened, what was some of your rituals that you're doing? Have you carried over some of those beneficial rituals? Things like your nighttime rituals, your morning rituals, are you following them through? Because when we do those rituals that allow us to have that normality and keeping ourselves strong and certain in these times. And then having your partner to do their own rituals and having the kids to do their own rituals. If it's so much screen time, or it's playtime, or whatever it is, what are those rituals that we can get set up for yourself, for your partner, and for your kids? Okay. Then when it comes to communication, there are two key things when it comes to it's timing. And timing, what I mean is, this is a quite an important component. Timing is there's three key areas. There's playtime, there's update time, and there's checking in time. So playtime, I think it's super important in these elements is to stop throughout the day and just have some play. So if it's play with the kids or play a game with the partner, whatever it is, it's just allow you to get back into that playful state. Tiger and I, my son, we throughout the day we play either cards, we play kaluki, or we play handball. With Lily, I'm doing some TikToks, like just to have some fun, just to have some play, right? Like me on TikTok, like I'm really like a robot dancing. So how are you having some playtime? When are you updating? And the other component is, when are you updating on information? Have you got the news on all day? Are you in a constantly news feed component? My suggestion is choose one news time throughout the day and stick to that. For us, it's that 7:30 latest update, 7:30 to 8:30, and then that's it, right? Ensuring that after that update, do a meditation or break state or shift your energy so you're not going to bed with that same energy from that news, okay? And checking in timing. Having times throughout the day when you're checking in with your family. How are you going? How are you feeling right now? How are you going? How are you feeling right now? And just that conversation, those questions is so important. I'm so fortunate Nat does it to me quite often throughout the day. How are you going? Just checking in. That allows to have that decompression and just to really allow to communicate that. So the other component is expectations. What are the expectations on self, partner, and family as whole? Going through this and communicating of what are your self expectations as we go through this time. What are some of the expectations that we have for each other, for our partners, and our partners for us? And as a whole on the family, what are some of the expectations? If someone's working, what are the expectations? Someone's online at school, what are the expectations? If we're at dinner time, what are the expectations? Breakfast, if we look at all three levels, what are those expectations for yourself, for your partners, vice versa, and for the family? So out of those four key areas so far, I just want to check in. How are we going? What's come up for you around health, around rituals, around timing, and around expectations? What's been the biggest aha component right now? Let's put that into the chat. What's been the biggest aha component for you? So what we've covered so far. Yeah, totally, right? My 16-year-old expects me to do everything. Yep. Would love to hear some advice on nighttime rituals. Fantastic. Yes, I'll cover that. Keep the rituals and keep the rituals and definitely news to a minimum. Yeah, great time to cement rituals because days are more similar than the usual chaos. Yes, love it. So some of the nighttime rituals, once again, checking in with your partner, right? How you doing? Meditation, um, uh, reading a good book that fills you up, right? Gratitude journal. They're four things, boom, straight off the bat. For me, I also go, okay, supplements, journaling, reading book, meditating, right? Yes, unsing Zoom to replace piano and maths coaching. Fantastic. Whole family put on weight. See, once again, we can start to using Zoom to replace piano and maths coaching. Fantastic. Yes. We've got kids learning instruments at the moment. Lily's on the keyboard and she's being taught by YouTube. Like, mad. Crazy. So once again, Tiger's on Zoom with his mates. He finishes his whole day worth of work in 2 hours, like, and we're paying fees for, in 2 hours, and the rest of it, and a couple of hours after that, he's on Zoom with a bunch of his mates, all right? So now let's look at collaboration. Now there's two key components when it comes to collaboration, is space and setup, okay? So let's look at spaces, and I think this is a super important one, is spaces is, we need to find if you can, a quiet space. A quiet space, it could be in the backyard, front yard, down the road, in one of the rooms where you can have some time by yourself. Your partner can have your time by yourself because we're not usually on top of each other 24/7, right? And I think this is so important to have that quality, quiet time. If they want to go and read a book or if you want to go and meditate, that you have a room or a space throughout the house, either inside or outside, that it's a designated quiet space. The other component is a nature space. Now, this is a super important component. I was talking to Jeff the other day around this. So he was like, his mind was going a million miles an hour. I said, when was the last time you had a walk in nature with no shoes on? It's like, oh, he goes, yes. He goes, I remember that time. I said, yeah. I said, that's what you need to do right now. I said, because when we're walking barefooted in nature, we start to become grounded. And what it enables us to start to get ourselves back into our bodies. Rather than the franticness of spending so much more time on screens, right, throughout the day, it allows us to get grounded and get centered, and it feels good. Right, so what's your nature space? It could be down the road at a park. It could be in the backyard or the front garden or wherever it is. What's that nature space for you? And the third space is the come together space. It could be around the dinner table or in the kitchen or the lounge room. Where's that space that we have that where we come together and we just talk, all right? Could be playing a board game, could be over a meal. But what is that come together space? And I think it's important that we distinguish what it is, and it has that as a ritual. If you look back on the tribal gatherings, they had these spaces that were sacred, and they had a ritual around them, around the campfire where tribal leaders come together. And we need to have those types of spaces that have that meaning around it, so we can really continue to connect and collaborate. All right. And then our last component is the setup. Now, this is the setup around for yourself, for your partner, and for the kids. If you were to work at home, if you are working at home already, what is your self workstation? Where are you set up at the moment? Are you set up on the kitchen bench? Are you set up in the lounge room? Are you set up in the bedroom? Do you have a designated space? What about your partner? Your partner maybe need to be working from home as well. Where do they do it? Do you have a roster in relations to that setup workstation, or is it separated? And then what about the kids if you've got kids? Where is their workstation? because people like to have their little rituals, their little workstations, because it's a sense of ownership. All right, it's that sense of ownership, like, oh, this is my, get out of my chair, you're in my chair, I'm gonna, this is happening in the next 10 minutes, blah, 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 blah. But when they can have their designated, if you can, designated work area, it makes it a lot more easy for that further collaboration.